So tonight we are presenting the 2020 academic vision and where we are in terms of its implementation and how it impacts our district and individual schools and ultimately students. So the vision is moving forward as anticipated. In fact, tonight we will present a report that actually moves up the reconfiguration of our district to a pre-K 8. Sure, thank you for that. We're actually presenting the plan tonight that expedites the implementation of the pre-K 8 reconfiguration of the district and the implementation of the three theme-based high schools, which is actually a little ahead of schedule. So school reform efforts have been credited for creating new opportunities to transform school districts all across the country. And while we've been recruited, if you will, to sign up for a particular model, we've developed our own because we felt that there were certain demographics and particulars about Mount Vernon that were so unique that no one particular school reform model would address our needs. So we have taken the best research and made it a part of our own research, if you will, and applied it to our efforts to turn our district around. And the progress is indicating that we are indeed on the right track. This 2020 vision really is an assimilation and acculturation of best practices from national models that will help students succeed and prepare them for college and the workforce. We've done a tremendous amount of work with setting the framework for the foundation, and now it's time for our community to expand this collaboration to ensure the successful transformation. So as we go through tonight, what I really need our public and parents in particular to understand is that in order for us to turn the corner, finish turning the corner, we really need folks to understand how this impacts them, and we are holding information sessions and being responsive to the concerns that the community have raised. So one of the things that we noticed is that parents have generally started looking for alternatives when it's time for kids to enter the middle school. So we are phasing out our middle school program and moving into a neighborhood school program and offering full-day kindergarten to all eligible students, and we'll talk about the phases of that. And we will begin to roll out the pre-K through 8 reconfiguration in our neighborhood schools. So the Office of School Improvement is rooted in school reform and academic success for students. So the development of the School Improvement Office about 3 years ago now has really been tasked specifically with looking at critical partnerships that will help reform our school district, manage grants, and take the information that we receive from the state through the state review process so that we are not just following a particular model, but using the reviews from the state to inform our decisions. And the state, matter of fact, we had a visit today from the state to conduct a review at A.B. Davis, and this has proven to be very effective as our schools are moving off the focus list. And we anticipate that there are 3 more schools that are coming off of the focus list. So these partnerships include Scholastic, Reach, Discovery Education, and MBK, My Brother's Keeper. Title I grant opportunities and programs that go above and beyond give us the opportunity to provide additional training for parents through Parent University, differentiated instruction, STEAM camps, character education, and early literacy programs. The early literacy initiative is something, as you know, has been very critical from my perspective with getting our youngsters to be on grade level, on or above grade level as soon as possible, so that we are not spending funds later on to try to remediate and get students caught up, and rather getting them on target. So there are significant implications associated with this plan. One of it is staffing. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Gagnon-Kapusky to come up and talk a little bit about this transition and why the staffing piece is so important, because there are so many moving parts to this. So we have negotiations with the unions that involve teacher transfer, language and laws that we are required to comply with. And Mrs. Gagnon-Kapusky, who is our Assistant Superintendent for HR, will talk specifically about this part of the transition.
Thank you, Dr. Hamilton. So good evening, everyone. just as Dr. Hamilton said, that this journey that we're embarking upon is very exciting for our students, it's equally exciting for our faculty and staff. So recognizing that we are transitioning to a K-8 model and to high school, theme-based high schools that have specialty themes, we recognize that there are going to be impacts on teacher assignments in particular. So with that said, we've reached out and have partnered most particularly with our teachers union, Mount Vernon Federation of Teachers, and in particular Ms. Casino, who was here this evening. And we have partnered with her to define a process that will help us facilitate the movement of our teachers from building to building as the various grades move from building to buildings and as the various programs move. So in that process, we have sought input from our teachers with regard to desires for where they'd like to go as the grades facilitate and transition out of the current schools to new schools. At the forefront of our considerations is what is best for our students, and clearly other factors such as certification, preparedness, and skill sets. So you can see that there are a lot of different programs that are going to be impacted, such as the A.B. Davis STEAM transition, the K-8, and this has been a long and arduous process. We've actually opened up these conversations in November. We anticipate that they will continue right out throughout the end of the year until everyone is placed. But I just want to say thank you officially and publicly to our Mount Vernon Federation of Teachers for working with us so closely on helping us work through this, because this is a very long and arduous process in order to keep all of those moving parts that Dr. Hamilton talked about in the right places and honoring teachers' desires as well as their rights and what is best for our students. So thank you.
One of the challenges that we have is, as you know, the district is going through considerable construction. And the construction of the renovations of our schools and the additions to some of our schools has a significant impact on our capacity to create space for the students that we want to maintain in their neighborhood schools. So, you want to talk about this, or Mrs. Silver? Michael? So essentially, the 2020 construction update, this gives you a view of where we are currently and what we anticipate to be complete by September 2018, which is why we are now able to move a little more aggressively with getting our pre-K-8 schools on board.
Thank you, Dr. Hamilton. Good evening, everyone. So, as part of the 2020 vision is the transformation of the buildings, as we know now, to a pre-K to 8 configuration. And that would include extensive renovations in science rooms in these 7 buildings, and that will be completed by September 2018. Also, during that particular phase, we're going to do upgrades to what we refer to as the building conditions. Building condition surveys include emergency lighting, upgrades to the fire systems, and certain things that we need for the pre-K implementation as well, which would be bathrooms and other types of specifics that are needed for that implementation. Next slide, please. Also, during the implementation for September 2018 are the high schools of choice. The high schools of choice, Mount Vernon High School, where we're doing a new track, new tennis courts. As you saw, we've opened up the swimming pool, which will be in full phase 2, or phase 3 actually, by 1 February of this year. Thornton High School, 90% complete. We're doing a massive renovation there with new roof, auditorium, building upgrades, and we're renovating performing art classrooms. A.B. Davis is going to be our STEAM school. Now, at the A.B. Davis school, we had some unanticipated renovations to masonry and roofing that we are undergoing that is a massive project that we will also have completed by September. Pennington, we're putting on an addition to Pennington. If you drive by there now, you'll see some steel being put up, concrete being poured. You don't see too much of it now with all the snow on the ground, but other than that, we are in full phase there for the 12 classroom addition. Graham, we're doing, as you see in this building, major site renovations, also on hold now because of the weather. New main entrance, upgrades to emergency lighting. We talked about the BCS stuff, and information technology and security upgrades will come right alongside that. Last slide, please, sir. Anticipated completion for September of 2019, the following year. The Mandela addition, with a complete building renovation pre-K to 8. That's where the Mandela building was. It was the original Columbus building on Gramerton Avenue. Parker land acquisition and new play fields on that particular campus where Parker sits now. Building construction, building condition infrastructure repairs, and again, technology and security to go along with all of those renovations. Final slide. That's okay. Anticipated completion on 2020, information technology, and we will continue with these building condition repairs that are just ongoing and will be ongoing for probably the next decade. Thank you.
The reason these slides are so important is our capacity to keep students in their neighborhood school is really contingent upon our ability to get science rooms in place and to make the appropriate accommodations so that when students have that middle school experience, we are preparing them for the courses that they will be required to take in high school. So in essence, if you're hearing this for the first time, students will have, our current 8th grade students will have an option of what kind of high school they want to attend, and we'll talk more about what those options are as we move forward through to this evening's presentation. This is Joe. Where is it? Yeah, this looks much better.
Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. So this is just a high overview of some of the infrastructure and technology work that is ongoing as part of this 2020 vision. And the part that I want to emphasize with you guys is the why we're doing it. Because connectivity matters when it comes to learning. When it comes to 21st century learning, we need to have our buildings equipped and ready so that when our students have devices and they're researching and they're doing science and they're getting into these innovative projects and they're doing STEAM schools and doing all this stuff, that they have internet and they have bandwidth that doesn't hurt their learning, but helps their learning. So we need to have something that is reliable and is robust. And all the students carry cell phones almost today. And we, right, almost everyone in this room probably has a cell phone. Probably easier to ask who doesn't, right? We all have connectivity. We know that connectivity matters, and it certainly matters when it comes to learning. So a big part of the 2020 vision has to do with building that kind of robust network and getting us to a place where our students are in a place where they can really thrive in 21st century learning. Thank you.
So we had a rehearsal earlier today.
I did good though.
And so that was much better, Joe. Much better. All right, full day pre-K implementation. Dr. Gail White-Wallace will talk to us about that. Our goal is to expand the number of pre-K classrooms we are offering to our students in their neighborhood schools so that we're getting them in as soon as possible. And maintaining our partnerships with our CV community-based organizations.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Hamilton. Our goal today, of course, is to expand full-day pre-K. But as former President Barack Obama said, pre-K and early childhood education is the way to erase and eradicate poverty and racism in the world. So that is why full-day pre-K is so important. For every dollar that we invest in full-day pre-kindergarten, our community gets a $3 to $8 return on every single dollar because every student who enters a quality full-day pre-kindergarten program makes at least $250,000 more annually in their income over their lifetime. as well as we have a reduction of over 75% of those students being incarcerated, over 90% more potential for those students to graduate high school, and over an 80% more probability that those students will be reading on grade level by 3rd grade. So this is why our expansion of full-day pre-K is beyond child care. It is about changing our community, and it's about changing our families. Our families understand that our children are learners at a young age, and we begin the investment in the most tender and most important years, 0 to 3 years old. So with that said, let's talk about what the phase-in plan for full-day pre-kindergarten looks like. Our goal by 2021 is to have 2 full-day pre-kindergarten classes in all 12 elementary schools, continue our partnership with Friendship for Tots, hey Bishop, Our Lady of Victory, and Westcott to provide full and half-day pre-K3 and pre-K4 for those students in our community. Next year, our phase-in will constitute transitioning every single half-day class to a full-day class. We will also add an additional class at the Williams Elementary School, the Pennington Elementary School, and we will also add another class at the Trapegan Elementary School. We will then be able to serve 414 of our students with full-day pre-K, 90 half-day students that are housed throughout our city in Westcott facilities, and our 24 students with special education at Rebecca Turner. Phase 2, we then begin to add some more classes. Our wonderful schools, Lincoln, Holmes, Columbus Elementary School, and the new Mandela School will all gain their 2 classrooms, then bringing us to a total of 636 students that will receive pre-kindergarten full-day education. And finally, we will add on our final 2 schools, which are Hamilton and the Grimes School in the 2021 academic school year. Now, this is a very important phase-in process because it thinks about 2 things. Not only the physical building, but we're also talking about the vertical articulation for those high schools of excellence and the middle schools that my colleague, Ms. Tiggs, is going to talk about. So once we have over 700 students attending full-day pre-K, that means our expectations in the kindergarten will increase, therefore creating a domino effect of increased expectations and ensuring we have high schools of excellence. Thank you and have a great day.
Very good. So I nicknamed her Bubbles for a reason. Okay, so this is probably what people are most excited about, I think, and that is what's going to happen to the phase-in of the 7th grade students and the expansion of when we will be able to include our 8th grade students in their neighborhood schools. And Marcy Tiggs, who supervises our guidance department, has taken on the scheduling of what these buildings will look like, conducted classroom inventories to make sure that we have enough seats and that the quality of our education remains stellar. Mrs. Tiggs. Ms.
Thank you. Why do I have to come after you? Well, thankfully, Dr. Hamilton has already explained to everyone the benefits of having 7th grade in the middle school, so you can continue to send your students to the neighborhood schools, and like Dr. White Wallace said, keeping them and hopefully sending them better prepared to our high schools of excellence. So as also mentioned by Mr. Policio when he spoke of the construction, as you see, there's a lot going on, but our additional school of Mandela or Columbus and the Circle will not come online until 1920. So next year, all of our schools will not be in 7th grade. In 1920 will the Mandela building come online. So therefore, right, it's 1920, all over the now we have 2 pre-K through 8 schools, which are Pennington and Graham, and we have a pre-K through 8 campus, which are Rebecca and Benjamin Turner schools. They will continue to be pre-K through 8. Columbus, Grimes, Holmes, Lincoln, and Parker will all keep their current 6th grade students next year as 7th grade students. Hamilton, Traphaven, and Williams next year will continue to be pre-K or K through 6, and the students will go to middle school as follows. Hamilton and Williams students will go to the Benjamin Turner Middle School in the fall. Traphaven 6th grade students will go to Pennington as 7th graders. Current 6th grade will attend Traphaven in the fall as 7th graders. A.B. Davis next year will only have 8th grade students, which are their current 7th grade students. In the 1920 school year, we will redistrict and rezone, and the old Columbus, old Mandela, School in the Circle will come online as a pre-K through 8 elementary school. At that time, Columbus, Graham, Grimes, Holmes, Lincoln, Parker, and Pennington will all be pre-K through 8 schools. Rebecca and Benjamin Turner will continue to be a pre-K through 8 campus. Hamilton, Traphaven, and Williams will then have 7th grade in their school, which are their current 5th grade students. And so all schools at that point will be pre-K through 8 in the 2021 school year. Thank you.
So we are making certain that we are getting this information out so that students get information. We've already started information sessions with our 8th grade students and letting them know specifically what student recruitment would look like and what their options are as they make choices about what they want to do when they get into high school and what kind of high school they want to go to. Now, as 8th graders, many of our students can't say, I know that I want to be a lawyer at this point, or I know I want to be a performer. So there will be opportunities for them to cross over between programs during the course of their high school career. At some point, however, if they intend to have a specialization, they're going to have to make a commitment, and we'll talk more about that. Dr. Gorman, you want to step in and talk about the sessions that have been conducted?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So, Ms. Tiggs and myself had the pleasure of visiting all of our middle schools and speaking to all of the students, all of the 8th grade students yesterday. It was incredibly rewarding and fulfilling for us. The 8th grade students were so engaged by having opportunities for their future, and we were incredibly impressed with their behavior, the questions that they asked, that they articulated, and we told them to please bring their parents out on Thursday night. We're looking for a real interactive session. We're going to give you a preview of the 3 videos. They're sort of marketing videos for each of our high schools of choice that kids will be able to choose from. We'll go over a timeline for you. Tonight's presentation will be posted on our website tonight. Discovery Education has been a great partner for us this year, and you'll see through the videos and what we're doing. They're going to provide 70 pizzas for us on Thursday night, and water, and some stations to do hands-on learning with performing arts. Folks will be there to engage you in some productions and information, and the high school folks and kids will be there to talk to you about some of our CTE programs and some of our programs for the comprehensive high school. So on that note, I'm going to show you the intro video for the high school, for the STEAM Academy. First, that will be at A.B. Davis. Next year, we'll be looking at a 9th and 10th grade of about 125 kids in the 9th grade and the 10th grade. And so this is about a 6-minute video. If you press the down left, that's where you'll hit the cue on the, go back. And it should be queued up down left. There you go.
My name is Shannon McDonald, and I currently teach 7th and 8th grade living learning environment. STEM learning is a lot of collaborative work, a lot of hands-on work, where students are given scenarios and asked to analyze them, similar to what they did today. My students really enjoy critical thinking, and they're excited to move forward with it. In today's global society, there are very few science, tech, and engineering jobs that stay in the United States. By providing a STEM program, it's going to allow our students to compete globally, to receive jobs that can, open the world for them. My professional development training with Discovery Education has really allowed me to incorporate a lot more multimedia into the classroom. I've also been able to have a lot of collaborative activities where students are thinking critically. They help to provide me ideas for higher order thinking questions, as well as giving me suggestions on how to have my students collaborate efficiently.
Peter Polly, and I teach mathematics and computer programming, computer science. I think we've needed STEAM education, not just now, but we've needed it for years, because it's a way of looking at the world and understanding what's going on. And it's very focused on getting at the causes, instead of just looking at effects, instead of just looking at, sort of being blown by the wind. You want to understand the wind and why it's blowing. And a lot of STEAM education, really the focus of STEAM education is to try and get ourselves to understand the world at a very fundamental level. The mechanics of the world, and then once we understand the mechanics of the world, we then know how to change it and how to make the world better for ourselves, for our children, for everybody. The benefits for students, I would say, are mainly learning how to look and think about the world. Mostly today, right, the world wants you to only look at the advertising, only look at the surface. And a lot of our kids think that that's everything, it's just the surface. And part of what we want to do with STEAM education is to get them to understand that underneath there's a whole set of mechanisms going on. There are things, events, processes, that if they understand the process, then they won't be controlled by the surface, that they'll be able to take control, they'll be able to live the kind of lives they want to live, rather than the kind of lives somebody tells them they should be living.
You say wearable technology. Tell me what type of wearable technology you're thinking of when you see the lily pad. What kind of things have we talked about in class? Okay? I want to see 24 answers up there, one from everybody. Technology. This idea that you can take something and program it and sew it into something. So, you'll see that when I refreshed it, apparently a lot of you have been saying light up shoes. That's why it's the biggest one. And then everything else is smaller, so a couple of you have been saying the same thing. So think about that. I'll give you guys another minute to put in some more answers. Think bigger than just lights.
A good way to think about programming is like making a sandwich. How do you guys make a sandwich? From the very beginning to the end. Where do you get the bread? You go and buy it, right? Then after you buy it at the store, where you go? Do you make it in the store? You go home, right? And then what do you do with all the ingredients? What do you do? Put it on the counter. And then what do you do? You're gonna put it bread and put it all in order, right? Close it. Enjoy, right? So that's what you're doing with programming. You're putting things in order. You first get everything that you need. You place it where you want it, and then you make it. And that's how you make programming works.
And now it almost looks like he's thinking. Right? That's just the activity. So that's blinking 200 times a second. Now you've taken a second and you divide it. Yeah. Right? You never see that without just kind of.
That's the STEAM presentation. And so essentially the three schools are recruiting students, and that's what we will begin doing. That's what we started, and that's Thursday night is an information session for parents to help students make those choices about the high schools that they want to go to. As you can see, these theme-based high schools are extremely progressive and reflect some of the best practices that the research is saying is going to prepare our students for the new world. Robotics, coding and programming, gaming, digital devices, and really teaching our youngsters how to use their cell phones as a learning tool, how to use the electronic devices as a learning tool rather than see them as a barrier to the learning process. And this is the promotional video for Mount Vernon High School, which will be our comprehensive high school, along with an international baccalaureate division and opportunities for students to gain additional experiences in career and technology education.
Well, as the proud principal of the Mount Vernon High School, we have so many things that we're so happy about and so many things that we've accomplished these last few years. And looking forward to the future. As you can see behind me is our beautiful pool that's just been renovated and is now open for business. So happy that we're going to be able to provide our students with opportunities to swim, even with USA Swimming, with some of the Olympic clinics that we'll be having, and providing water safety instruction to our community so that they too can take advantage of this place, this beautiful place that we have at Mount Vernon High School. We're definitely on the rise in Mount Vernon High School, inside the classroom, physically and as well as intellectually. And so some of the steps that we've taken to make sure. Well, as the proud principal of the Mount Vernon High School, we have so many things that we're so happy about and so many things that we've accomplished these last few years. And looking forward to the future. As you can see behind me is our beautiful pool that's just been renovated and is now open for business. So happy that we're going to be able to provide our students with opportunities to swim, even with USA Swimming, with some of the Olympic clinics that we'll be having, and providing water safety instruction to our community so that they too can take advantage of this place, this beautiful place that we have at Mount Vernon High School. We're definitely on the rise in Mount Vernon High School, inside the classroom, physically and as well as intellectually. And so some of the steps that we've taken to make sure that our students get pushed academically is we've made a few changes. Some of the changes that we've made are moving into what we call academies. So our small learning communities are places where our students can come and they feel welcome. But also pushes their thinking and gets them to think deeply about the academia and the things that they're involved in. It creates an opportunity for children to really find themselves in unique ways. Students will tend to take courses like AP English and AP Social Studies, or even some of our Syracuse University partnership classes that we offer where students can graduate high school with having earned some college credits.
And what that is a college course that's not necessarily different at all. It's the actual Syracuse course that you can take here in high school. Now, you pass the course and you do well, you will be able to receive 3 college credits from Syracuse University. The cost is much more effective than it would be if you attended any college.
I teach
9th grade Global History and 9th grade Avid. I also teach the 12th grade SUPA class that gives college credit through Syracuse. It's called Public Policy. Avid means Advancement via Individual Determination, and it's geared to help students prepare for college. So we take students that need that extra little push, a little more organizational skills, a little extra tutoring, and we give them the tools that they need in order to be successful. So you start as freshmen and you follow through senior year. By senior year, we're helping you complete your college applications and write your essays for college. And by then, you're all ready to take notes in college. We work on taking notes in class. And we also do a lot of fun things like go on field trips to colleges.
Avid has helped me organizing my binder, my notes. It helped me remember the topics that I did in class in global history, and it helped me just remember everything that we went over.
My favorite thing about the high school is
the teachers, because the teachers that helped me on the path that helped me to my goal in life.
Avid is a program that helps students advance through their high school career and possibly give them a greater chance to get into better colleges. Avid's taught me many things like our form. It teaches me how to build and form questions differently, and it also gives me a chance to push my ideas. Basically, the whole high school experience is great. Coming from middle school to this high school is just great. 9th grade academy is a pretty great place. It's very energetic and hype because like everybody's excited to be in high school for the first time, and it's just great to get to know everybody. The teachers are all nice and they care about their kids. They treat them like they're their own, and they love us.
The diploma program is a 2-year program which will focus on 11th and 12th graders. What's incredible about it is it allows teachers to teach outside of them. IB education in the diploma program is a 2-year process. The students will begin in 11th grade and they'll follow them through the 12th grade. And they'll examine things that are outside of what students would normally examine in a school setting. IB comes with its own curriculum resources. It's a holistic approach that encompasses what's learned in the classroom, what's understood out in the community, out in the world, and it all infuses and comes together. We want to provide education for our students that's going to last, that's going to take them through college and beyond. With an IB education, when we create this program, students that are entering in this program are going to have an opportunity to receive 32 college credits. Like, who would want to do that? So it's going to have a lasting effect on them that's going to make it so that we're not just preparing them to graduate, we're sending them out to soar when they get to college so they can go above and beyond. I'm excited about the comprehensive plan. I'm excited about Dr. Hamilton's vision. I'm excited about Mr. Gonzalez's vision. And I say, hey, we got IB.
And it's not just about academics here at Mount Vernon High School. While that's obviously the one thing that we focus on mostly, we have a population of students that participate in athletics. So we're a smaller school on the scale of large comprehensive high schools with only 1,500 students. But of that 1,500, we have more than 550 student athletes.
Hello all, my name is Mr. Semino, and I just want to tell you how exciting it is to be here at Mount Vernon High School in the world of sports. We have 3 seasons. We begin in mid-August with our football and our track teams and our soccer, boys and girls teams. We head into the winter season, which is indoor track. We also have basketball, both with the boys and girls. Also with cheerleading. Cheerleading is now a sport in New York State, so we've got sports for just about everyone. Athletics is very exciting at Mount Vernon High. It brings the whole community together. We've got a beautiful new gym that actually was put together a year ago, and the entire community really masses to support their teams. If you have a youngster, male or female, interested in the world of sports, this is the place to be. There's a great camaraderie. The teachers, the staff, custodians, security, everyone supports the student athletes. And our student athletes get a chance to travel also. So it's really a very unique educational approach that we take here at Mount Vernon High, using sports to augment the students' tenure here. It's a great place to be. Hope you take us up on it. Step here to 100 California.
My favorite thing about the high school are the teachers. I feel like there are many teachers who care about us on a personal level and an educational level. they really try to be in our lives and help us and give us advice towards things more than just academics. I played varsity girls soccer, and I was captain this year. And I feel like Mount Vernon High School is really good with sports. You know, basketball team, boys soccer team, men's soccer team, baseball, like everything. And it's really like a family. We all come together to watch the sports, we come together to play the sports. So I think it's a community. If you have, you know what you want to major or you know what you want to do, like I'm in communication, so I want to be a lawyer. And I think it really helps us center and learn more from kids what we want to do in the future. I think the friends I've made in my 4 years of high school, honestly, there are some people I know I'll talk to when I graduate afterwards, and even teachers too I know I'll talk to after I graduate.
We've come a long way here at Mount Vernon High School, and we've turned the corner. Mount Vernon High School has made progress. So we're very, very happy with the progress that we've made, and the outlook on the 2020 bond has us really excited about this next phase that we're going to head into, both academically, socially, and emotionally for our students at Mount Vernon High School.
So some of the programs that will be offered, some of them are already offered, but we'll be expanding them, includes the International Baccalaureate Program, Cosmetology, Automotive Technology, Barbering, Cisco Networking, Culinary Arts, Nursing, TV Production. And these youngsters still have, even though they may have a concentration in career and technology education, they are still going to be on the pathway to a college option. What some of our students have expressed to us is, I may want to work my way through college and want to leave with a degree or a certification that allows me to get a job that is above minimum wage and enter the workforce where I can start out making $20, $25 an hour and help support my way through college. So this is a pathway for those youngsters who want to do that. Or youngsters who are interested in going into nursing will be able to leave with the appropriate kind of certification. And I don't see dental assistant on here, but that's another program that we are preparing as well. So they will have a full gamut of career and technology opportunities where they will be able to get into the workforce and earn a decent living and change the conditions of poverty that perpetuate communities like Mount Vernon. And last but not least is the Performing Arts Magnet Program. You want to talk about this a little bit? And then I will walk you through, we need about 5 more minutes of your time, and then we'll be ready to move on to the next one.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. So, the Performing and Visual Arts Magnet School, we're entering our 4th year in September. So we've been working on this for three and a half years. So it's a beautiful thing. We're very excited that we're going to share the campus with Thornton High School. But as you all know, the Performing and Visual Arts Magnet School is a public secondary school. So it has a high school, but it also has the middle school component as well. Currently, our school is configured with students in grades 6 through 9. We have about 275 students. Next year, we'll enter grades 6 through 10, and then the next year, 6 to 11, and then 6 through 12. This is the objective of our school. What we work to do is to discover and nurture our children's unique talents. We use a performing and visual arts framework in order to support their success in academic classes. Because it's our belief that when you take the arts, you integrate it in academics, you nurture the entire child. We can go to the next slide. This piece here is the interesting piece. I imagine that's why you're here. The Arts Magnet School in 2018-2019 will have 384 students. We'll serve grades 6 through 10. Thornton High School will have 374 students, and they'll serve grades 11 through 12. Our current 9th graders who are in Thornton High School will have the opportunity to apply to the Arts Magnet, the STEAM School, Mount Vernon High School for the 10th grade. I think that's it. Yes. Thank you. One more slide. Oh, thank you. Thornton will become a shared campus. We'll have an enrollment of 758 students. That's the capacity of that building. The shared spaces will include the cafeteria, the media center, the gym, the specialized classrooms, auditorium, and the school-based support team. We'll maintain, the Performing and Visual Arts Magnet School will maintain its identity as it grows from grades 6 through 12. Our students will basically, our middle school students will be on the 1st floor, our high school students on the 3rd floor, Thornton students on the 2nd floor. The final graduating class in Thornton will be 2020. Our first graduating class in Arts Magnet will be 2021. Thank you.
So as you can see, this is a very, very comprehensive plan, and I have to tell you that if it was not for the extraordinary people here this evening, members of the staff, this would not happen. So please join me in giving a round of applause for the folks who made that happen. We have been working tirelessly to work out the kinks. As you can imagine, we've got issues with the state and getting plans approved for construction in order to make this happen and overcoming those challenges that could potentially be barriers to this. So while you get to see this really nice presentation and these really nicely edited videos, there's a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes in order to make this happen. And it's the staff members who are so committed and dedicated to seeing this 2020 vision come to fruition with the support of the Board of Trustees that has made this possible. So there are some items for a future discussion. We have been doing some major recruitment so that we can have the STEAM Academy up and ready for September. And that included a search for a principal who would have an opportunity to plan without having the benefit of student supervision for a period of time since it was a new school. We also found that there were some challenges with making certain that we identified teachers who had an interest. We didn't just want to move teachers around, we wanted teachers to have specialization in the areas of science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics in order to be in that STEAM school. And we also wanted to make certain that we had the right person there. And lo and behold, amidst our crop of extraordinary building principals, we have identified someone amongst our staff who has experience with opening a new school, has a background in science and math, and has the support and respect of the community and that person will become our esteemed principal, and that will be Mrs. Sharon Bradley. So after several conversations and twisting Mrs. Bradley's arm, we have talked, we are making that transition, and we will be onboarding a principal who will become our principal at the Thornton High School as well. Then we also have to talk about Mandela. So the fact of the matter is, Mandela has been a program that has been struggling, at least since I've been here, and perhaps even before then, not in terms of the quality of education, but in terms of making sure we're providing the kinds of opportunities that are of interest to students and getting students interested in pursuing an alternative to the traditional kind of pathway to success in high school graduation. And one of the things that we are discovering is that this partnership that we've had with BOCES this year has been successful in getting students who are interested in getting a career in technology opportunity. So our goal eventually will be to phase Mandela out as an alternative school, but understand that there will be students who will still need the benefit of some kind of program that's a non-traditional approach. So that non-traditional approach will include a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, where those youngsters will be able to be there, get the support they need, in addition to those youngsters who are either suspended, and we're finding this partnership that I'm talking about, I've been having conversations with Judge Armstrong, and he's finding that he's adjudicating more and more students who, while they are out on suspension, they are finding their way into his courtroom because they're not supervised. And so we're looking at an alternative to say, well, there are certain infractions that students need to have consequences associated with, and suspension is not working. So just having the kids out on the street because they commit these infractions is not at all preparing them for life in the future. So this partnership with BOCES and the Boys and Girls Club partnership will give us an alternative for those youngsters who need an alternative kind of program, whether it's short-term or long-term, and be able to go to BOCES and get the training that they need. So we'll be talking more about what that would look like and the supervision of that program. I have a meeting with Judge Armstrong again tomorrow. There's a project called a Capstone Project. There are several models around the country, one of which is in Buffalo, and I just had a conversation with that superintendent last week about the program there and how it's working there. And we will adopt that model with the Boys and Girls Club and modify it for the needs that we have in our community. So these are items of further consideration. As you can imagine, this has been a massive, massive undertaking. I can't stress how important it is for you to help us get this information into the hands of our kids and to our parents so that they are out on Thursday night and that kids are getting their applications in. And imagine what it's like to be an 8th grader and get to pick the kind of high school you want to go to based on your interests. Like, what better education is there for a youngster to be able to say, I want to be an actor, I want to be a television producer, or I want to have a career in science and education. So this is really a very, very progressive reform initiative that we're ready to roll out. So with that said, I will click. Oh, very important. So these are some timetables that we have in place. And this will be online for you. These are some timetables we have in place because we want to get students and let students know where they are going to be going to school as soon as possible. So we have the interactive night on Thursday evening. For those parents who are not able to attend, they will get their high school choice forms mailed to them the following day, where they get to select the high school that they want to send their youngsters to, and those forms will be due back on January 19th. There will be an open house for the Performing and Visual Arts Magnet at Mount Vernon High School on January 18th. And then there will be the auditions. That school you do have to audition to be a part of. And there will be 2 audition dates. There may be more if needed. And then our parent notification letters will go out on March 15th. So by March 15th, our goal is to let everybody know what high school they will be going to. If you are a parent of a youngster that is currently a 6th grader at Columbus, Grimes, Holmes, Lincoln, or Parker, your youngster will be able to remain in that school for 7th grade next year. And then the following year, they will be able to remain there for 8th grade. So if you have a 6th grader now in one of those schools, they will be able to remain there until they are ready to make their high school choice. If you have a youngster that is in Hamilton, Trapphagen, and Williams, and is a current 6th grader, you will not be able to remain in that school until the following year. So your 5th graders will be able to remain in Hamilton, Trapp, and Williams for the 2019-2020 school year. So with that, I'll answer any questions that I have. Yes, ma'am.
So what do you say, what are the children who are currently in one of these high schools as a 9th grader now? Do they have to now switch to whatever school that's of their interest? Or I it seems like for Thornton especially, like there is levels. So it seems like Thornton will stay Thornton on one floor, and so you have the option to
Right, what we were trying to do was minimize the impact of those youngsters who are currently in those. So students at Thornton will be, all of high school students will be able to make application to which school they want to go to. So when the application process is open, they will be able to make their choice. Some of them may currently. Some of them will be able to remain in their school. Some of them may choose not to. Some of them may opt to apply to one of the other schools.
So every high school has an option to stay there as their own high school, what it was, what it is now.
10th and 11th graders will stay put because we did not want to disrupt where they were. But the 9th graders will need to make application. You're welcome. I saw another hand. Yes, ma'am.
It says the 7th grade is going to be in for next year, 1920. But 8th grade, so they're not going to go up to 8th grade? Is that what it is? They're going to
Next year in the 1920 school year, no, Trapphagen will only go up to 7th grade. But the following year, it will be a pre-K 8 building. So a current 6th grader at Trapphagen will graduate from Penn. That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
Okay. I guess both of us are from Thornton.
It's a little louder for me.
Both of us are from Thornton, so there's a concern with the special ed, knowing that teachers are moving. So especially the special ed parents, they're wondering what's going to happen to their kids because they know that some of the parents are moving. And that has been an ongoing conversation which no one could answer.
We've actually been spending a lot of time on that, and we're giving our special ed youngsters an opportunity as well. So if they have an option, if they have a school that they have a particular interest in, we will make certain that those programs are available for them as well. So if a youngster is in a currently in a 15-to-1 class, for example, and wants to apply to another school, so our goal, of course, is we're not going to exclude those youngsters from that process. We'll have to create the programs for them. And we made provisions in terms of the capacity of buildings to be able to accommodate our special ed students. Okay. You had a question? Yeah? Right next to you.
Yes, I just have a question about the honors. For Thornton High School, for the honors classes.
Yes.
Can your child stay in there even though he's a 9th grader?
If a youngster is in an honors program, he or she will remain in an honors level course.
No, but I mean at the Thornton, or would they have to go somewhere else?
They'll have to go someplace else. If they're a 9th grader, if you're talking about a current 9th grader, yes. Yes. Or you can still apply. You may ultimately still end up there, but they'll have to go through that process.
No, it's only 10th grade. That's what I mean. Oh, he stays?
Yes, 10th grader, he's good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We wasn't sure about that. That's why I was asking.
All right, wait a minute. Wait. It looks like I just messed something up. Marcy, come up here and fix this.
performing arts magnet. They may remain where they are. If you have a 9th grader at Mount Vernon High School, they may remain where they are, or they may apply or audition to another school. If you have a 9th grader at Thornton High School, they must audition for the Performing Arts Magnet or apply to the STEAM High School. The only students at Thornton High School that are currently enrolled that will be there next year are their current 10th graders, who will be juniors, their current 11th graders, who will be seniors.
I said it right. I said it right. She's a little more articulate than I, but I said it right. Okay. Other question in the back. Yes, ma'am. Hey, how you doing?
It's not a question, I just want to make a comment. First of all, I want to thank the board and you for this vision that's finally coming to fruition. But more importantly, Dr. Gorman and Marcy Tix came to our school yesterday, to Benjamin Turner. I have never seen our kids so excited when they saw the film on the different choices that they had ever in my life, and I mean that. I mean, it was unbelievable.
I'm telling you, we are going to be a national model. Mark my words. We're going to be a national model. People will wonder how we're doing what we're doing, and it's through the support of the community and the board that we've been able to do this. This young lady here, and then Mrs. Crump.
In order to, on Thursday, does the child have to be there to apply for the high school, or can I just go in myself?
No, child does not have to be there. It'll be good, but if the child's not there, a parent mom can do it. Okay. Mrs. Crump?
Dr. Hamilton, so how is the district inviting other people within the community outside of the current 8th graders and parents? For example, our social workers, when we have children who enter foster care, so the foster parents who may not have children now in 8th grade, but may end up having it, our transit children. So how are we involving the other stakeholders in the community to participate in these?
We're doing a mass mailing to every home in Mount Vernon with this information on it. In addition to, there's the last 2 pages of the brochure are devoted specifically to what I just described here. In addition to all of our community efforts, including the grassroots efforts where we're actually having a street team that's going out, passing out flyers, talking to parents in the community, doing everything, being on Facebook, and then really tapping on you, since everybody loves Brenda Crump, come to you for information and you direct them. I'm telling you that we need to put you on payroll and really help us. Seriously though, I said it half joking but half serious about really helping us know what pockets of the community are we missing so that we know we can do a concentrated effort there.
And another question, so when will the district do another building tour? Initially starting out with the construction, which was really great.
Good.
But the hours wasn't great, so we need to work on the hours. 6 a.m. in the morning, telling parents that they can come, that's not quite welcoming. But when will the district do another tour so that we, as a community, can really see all this great work
That is really going to be contingent upon where we are with the construction. So, like Graham is probably going to be one of the first schools that we'll be able to complete on schedule. Next will likely be, and Michael, correct me if I'm speaking out of turn, next will likely be Pennington. Yeah. And then the classrooms that we are converting in those elementary schools where we will be bringing those science labs on, that will happen over the summer. So it's a very progressive construction plan that's in place, but in order for us to accommodate these students as I just described, it's got to happen on the timetable that we've set. And the construction, by the way, this conversation isn't happening without the input of our construction team, architects and engineers. So they know what the timetables are. I'm not just making this up and they're not a part of the conversation. They understand what these parameters are. The one potential hurdle I need to say that we have is state approval. So it may require me going up to Albany and asking them to truncate some of these plans that we need approved. I may be asking you as parents and community members to help me write letters to get the commissioner to expedite the review process, because we have needs in our district that are very unique because of the fact that our buildings have fallen into such disrepair. And while they have supported this plan, we got to get them to get our plans approved, the construction plans approved as well, so that that can happen. I saw a question and over here in the back. Yes, sir.
I guess you just answered my question. Going from
So essentially what we are doing is reconfiguring some of our classrooms and looking at teacher schedules and making certain that rather than moving students in the scheduling process, moving teachers around so that we fully utilize every classroom in the building. So it's really an issue of scheduling that has allowed us to be able to accommodate that. Now, you are going to have some increase in class size. We need to say that publicly. But we've also been very, very careful about maintaining very low numbers in the classrooms in anticipation for this transition. So, and even with the increase in class size, you're still going to be below the average in most other classrooms. We're talking 22, 24, 26 kids. We're not talking 30 kids in a classroom. But I want you to hear that, so I don't want you in September calling me saying, there's 27 kids in my son's class. Well, we've got to give some give and take, because you've also said to me, I want to remain in my neighborhood school. So we got to make this happen this way. Mrs. Tiggs? Mrs. Tiggs, I keep marrying you.
So based on what Dr. Hamilton just said, we did look at every single classroom. We walked the buildings, we counted numbers, we reconfigured classes. Right now, the largest potential class, K through 6, would be 28 students. And there's only one school that might happen, possible.
Yes, ma'am.
With the addition of the class sizes, are those teachers going to have assistants as in TAs?
No. The only classrooms that will get TAs will be the pre-K classrooms, and youngsters, of course, who have special needs and they already have that service, they will, of course, continue to get that service.
This is sixth grade class.
Right, and these are sixth grade classes where those numbers are not
That it might go up from
extraordinary anyway.
Hey, Doc, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir. How are you, Bishop?
Thank you. When you all have done an analysis of these old buildings, are you certain that once you do the renovation of these old buildings, particularly when you upgrade the technology, that there will be no hidden problems that will increase the cost? Have you
Very good question, Bishop, and that's one of the things we found in A.B. Davis. So we started some work in A.B. Davis and discovered that there's some masonry work that we have to do in order to make the IT infrastructure fit. So I can't tell you that won't happen, to be quite honest with you. I don't want to misrepresent. We could go into a wall to do some wiring and find out that we've got some other issue there. That could very well happen in buildings that are 100 years old. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. With this 2020 vision, it's great that you're looking at a lot of the old buildings to repair them and all the necessary repairs that need to be done. However, my concern is, and I brought this up to parent liaisons and I brought this up to Principal Jones, is that Lincoln School has privacy walls as a wall in their classroom. How are we addressing that as a safety issue?
I'm not sure I understand your question. You say privacy walls?
Right. So if you go into Lincoln Elementary School, they have 3 walls. Then that one wall that's on the main hall is an accordion privacy wall. If you go to banquet hall, you know, the segregation of the room, they use that privacy accordion wall to open up and close it. Those are their walls
So
in a
those
lot
walls,
of their classrooms.
those walls are
They're
remain.
always open. And I've seen cars park in the entrance of the school, which are glass doors from top to bottom. Concerned somebody can just drive right in and then go right upstairs and start shooting up the school, because there's no way of blocking those doors down.
So Lincoln and Traphagen were built around a model called the open school concept, which was very big during that time. Schools all across the country were doing that. A wall does not prevent a tragedy like that from happening. So what you're referring to as privacy walls really is about how does instruction in one classroom not interrupt instruction in another classroom. They're not designed for safety at all. But the school meets current standards in terms of safety codes, and the safety provisions really have to be provided at the entry points in the buildings, not so much in the classrooms. That's where we're putting the money in. When Mr. Licio talked about safe security updates and upgrades in our buildings, we're talking about entry points in those buildings so that we are avoiding those kinds of tragedies from happening in our buildings before people are able to enter into the classrooms and create that kind of havoc.
So my understanding of what you're saying is technology that you're implementing at Lincoln School is going to prevent somebody from getting upstairs. That's what the expectation is.
I can't think of the mind of a person who would commit that kind of offense.
Sandy, so we're on
I can't tell you that every provision, we could think of every provision that would prevent that. I can tell you that we are following the recommendation of security experts who have done this across the country and following their recommendations for how we make our schools as safe as we can. And that's what we have to rely on. I'm an educator. So we reach out to consultants who have expertise in security and safety and fire prevention and things of that sort, and the state requires us to do that. Was there another hand? Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I'm a retired Mount Vernon art teacher, and I know what's happened over the years, and it actually didn't happen at Lincoln. As we're expanding, art and music and concert rooms are all being dismantled and shrunk down. The Lincoln School art room is like a closet. It will be an effort to preserve the performance spaces and the art rooms and the rehearsal rooms.
Yes, and there will probably be 1 year where it's tight, but as soon as we bring the Pennington building on with the 12 additional classrooms and the Mandela building, we'll be able to redistrict and get the normalcy back. So there is going to be some growing pains. Okay? Yes.
Dr. Hamilton, how will the conversion of the schools, the 2020 vision, impact the public school choice and open enrollment?
Great question. So we are actually looking at asking the Supreme Court to change that decision because the open enrollment, because it's really no longer applicable, quite frankly. The disparity in our district really isn't about race, it's about economics, and that law was never designed for that. So that will probably go away. Once we...
When are you looking to do that?
We've already started that process with the lawyers.
Okay, because until you do...
Right, we're still obligated to follow.
If it's taken care of to 18, if it's still there, then, you know, how would you address it?
Right, we will still be compliant with the law and offer those choices where we are obligated to do so. But there are very few students, quite frankly, statistically, that take advantage of that. All right, one more question, and then or two more questions, and then I'm going to let the board get back to their meeting, and thank you for your indulgence, board members.
Thank you. I just wanted to know, what are the requirements for the students to be accepted in these various high schools? Like, do they already have to have some sort of, I guess, gifted in music already to get into performing arts, or is this just about their interest? Is it the
Great question.
Like, so what do they need to have in order to get accepted?
In order to get into the performing arts magnet, you got to have some talent. You have to either be able to demonstrate it through art, dance, vocal music, the various genres of fine and performing arts. The other schools, however, will primarily be interest-based, but there will be a selection process for youngsters for the performing arts magnet where they will need to audition. And one last question.
In regards to, I know we talked about academics, but when you talk about school lunches, are we going to have changes into that would meet nutritional standards, better standards for the students?
We've actually been working on that. That's a separate issue altogether. That has nothing to do with the 2020 vision. But we've been talking about, there's actually a committee called the Wellness Committee, and that's actually chaired by one of our board members. And that Wellness Committee focuses very specifically on the quality of lunch, how well our lunch providers are serving the needs of our community, and whether or not that's a contract we want to continue, or do we want to go out and look at other providers. So we are looking at that. We are compliant with the the federal laws in terms of what we offer our youngsters, but our kids complain about the lunch all the time. So we're looking into that. All right. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Please help us with the information.